did bring along one of the things that I remember getting when I was in John's class was the Yawara, which he was really big on promoting. I don't think they were really well known at the time as far as in the area of like the police and all that. I don't think they had really much an idea of that, about what these were. What can you talk about, tell us about the Yawara?
I love the Yawara. It's my favorite weapon because you can stick it in your pocket. You can use running weights instead of this. This looks like a weapon.
Right.
But running weights with, you know, little discs of metal on either, it's the same thing. It's just not as weapon-like.
Okay.
You can just tell the police, hey, I'm walking down the street, and
yeah,
guy attacked me. I hit him with my my jogging device, not my Yawara. When I did my thesis kata for my 4th degree black belt, I did one called Iron Hand, which was nothing but 2 Yawaras.
Okay.
And the basic Yawara moves, and there aren't a lot of Yawara moves. You don't need a lot.
Right.
You brain somebody with this thing.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need to be real fancy with it. You hit somebody in the throat, in the side of the head, sternum,
okay,
you know, solar plexus, just about anywhere. It really hurts. And you can use it if you're a cop, or you can use it as a come-along device too.
Okay. Where
you put somebody in lock, but if they don't want to move too much, you give this to them in the ribs, or, you know, the small of the back.
Incentive, right?
Yeah. It's a brutal weapon.
Did he get, now, did he pick this up from like Ed Parker's camp, or was that a separate, do you know?
I don't know if he got it from Ed Parker or not. I didn't get into Parker's weapons so much. I only looked at his empty hand stuff.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, this is kind of an ancient weapon, but in America, not so much. And if you show this to most people, I don't think they'll know what it is.
I probably think it looks like a very small barbell, right? So,
but man, that thing packs a wallop. And if you know how to throw, especially circular moves, you know, coming like this, I mean, those are the basic moves. There's only like 5 of them.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, and if you can master those simple moves, you have a chance. And let's face it, if you're fighting for your life, you want it to be extremely simple.
Yeah, I agree.
Because, you know, you're going to be, your adrenaline's going to be pumping, and you're going to fear for your life, and the simpler, the better.
The only thing that's really going to work when you're under stress like that, so I agree.
Yeah.
So the last question I have for you is just, do you have any particular memory you'd like to share about John? Anything in particular that sticks with you?
Well, you know, I wrote a book a few years ago called Crohn's is a Funny Disease.
Okay.
Because I've had Crohn's disease for 60 years now, since I was 12. And I put a chapter in there about him, and I call him my martial arts father. I really was fond of John. I loved him. And he was a quirky individual. You wouldn't want to cross him. But he was a very interesting guy, too. And he could be a very nice guy. And I used to love to watch him get carried away and foam at the mouth. That's another reason why I went with him. That first time when he hit that chop, first time, and he started to foam at the mouth, and his eyes got real big when he talked about these techniques, I thought, this guy's crazy enough where I have to get to know him.
He was very, very passionate about what he taught.
Yeah, he was.
Every time he spoke about it, you could tell.
Yeah, he was. And I just enjoyed all my time with him, really. And I recall sparring with you, and I recall after you got clocked a couple of times that you did become what I call more studied or more careful. And you know, that might sound like something that's not good for a fighter, but it is. Reckless abandon gets you wrecked.
Yeah.
Ruthless abandon is a different story.
Right.
But reckless abandon, and I know this because I had broken ribs several times from just being too damn aggressive early on in Japanese karate, and you know, somebody would just sidekick you and boom.
Right.
Broken ribs are not fun.
It takes a long time to heal.
So I learned that the hard way, and it didn't take you that long to learn it though. And you became more studied, and you were almost like what you see in a lot of black belt spars when you go to tournaments. And we never did tournaments because John didn't believe in them. But I would go to tournaments occasionally anyway. And when you watch black belts, they're like stalking animals. And when they, you know, they're very considered in their moves, and when they move with, you know, great speed and power and accuracy, and then they go back and compose themselves again. And they wait to see the damage.
Right.
And then if they have to go back in to do more damage, they'll do that. And I noticed that you had become that way, and so I imagine that you probably have transferred that over to your teaching of self-defense too, because you can't just throw yourself recklessly into an encounter.
No.
Even if you want to call it kamikaze fighting.
Right.
That was not meant to mean that you should be reckless. It was just meant all the chips are on the table.
Yeah.
So you gotta somehow survive. But there is, when you become well trained, there is that second where you have a little breathing room to figure out what's the wisest thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that in you as a sparrer early on, and I imagine that's what you've transferred over to some degree to your teaching of self-defense, and I think it's a real strength.
Well, I thank you for that. I mean, I definitely have tried to be more thoughtful, like you said, because there are very different types of people. Some people are, like you said, just more. I remember a guy in John's class who was a bouncer, who I think, and I can't remember his name.
I can see his face. He was one of the 2 people who got thrown out of the school eventually.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big Bob, I think.
I think that's what it's. Yeah. Worked at Mother's Bar or something. Yeah.
Right.
So there's people like that who are just big and they'll just go into a fight and just throw punches, and there are people who are more methodical. And I try to be more methodical about what I do and what I teach people, and same sort of thing, like you're saying, just tell people they need to analyze a situation as quickly as possible, be prepared, and then you have to react, but you still have to have some thought. It can't be mindless. So.
Well, I agree, and you've got to, the challenge is to funnel down these concepts into something that's real easy that people can wrap their mind around and practice into their body and mind and spirit. Because when, during the moment of an encounter, there's really no time to think. When I say that, you'd like to take a moment to think things through, you're not really thinking. What you're doing is you're doing some very quick processing of experience.
Right.
I always told my black belts, I said, all I want you to be able to say when you leave here is that you have an intimate knowledge of targets and weapons, because that's what it comes down to. What's an open target on a given individual, and what body weapon do you have available that you can use accurately and powerfully? And you should be able to size that up, and if it's not open, how do you open it quickly? Because most targets are worthless. You punch somebody in the arm.
Yeah.
The only target on the human body that's really worthwhile is the throat, really.
Right.
Because if you disrupt somebody's ability to breathe, you have enough time to get away.
Yeah. No,
hopefully.
Very true. Very true. So focus, pick your targets.
Yeah.
And that's what it boils down to. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate it for sharing your stories and everything. And for more information about what I teach and what I do, please visit bestdefenseconcepts.com. And until next time, stay safe.